I love ginger. I particularly love the spicy sweetness of it, and one of my favorite things to get when I go to the boba shop or the pearl milk tea shop is to get ginger milk tea. And I'm going to show you how to make it today. It's pretty easy. It takes a little bit of time, but really once you do it once or twice, it's really fast. So you start out, you end up making like a ginger sugar syrup, you mix it with strong tea, you add some milk, and then you add your boba, which are these little black tapioca pearls, which you can get at most Asian markets. You can buy them in the sort of dried starchy section. They'll be labeled boba sometimes, other times pearl milk stuff or just pearls. You should cook them to the package instructions, and then if you want to store them in your refrigerator for a while, just make a simple syrup, which is 1 part sugar, 1 part water. Boil it together until it's all combined and clear, and you can store the pearls, the cooked pearls, in that for up to a week. If you don't store the pearls in some sort of sugar syrup, they'll start to dry out, and if you store them in water, it they break down more easily, so you need to use a sugar syrup. But just follow the package instructions, promise you it'll work. I'm going to show you how to make the ginger base today. I'm going to take quite a bit of ginger. This is probably about, if you put it all together, 7 to 8 inches of ginger, which is often how you see it, you know, pieces of ginger. Put in inches. I'm just going to cut it up into big chunks. I can leave the skin on because I'm going to use a food processor to do this. If you don't have a food processor, you can grate the ginger. Takes a little bit more time, but you can just use a box grater and just grate through it all. Because we're going to be squeezing the ginger, you don't need to peel it at all. Because this is going to be, this raw stuff is actually going to end up being discarded, or I like to reuse it to make more ginger tea, but that's another video. All right, just cut up the ginger into big chunks. I'm going to drop it in the food processor. And I've actually frozen this ginger in advance and then defrosted it because we're squeezing the juice out. I think it makes it a little bit easier to squeeze out the juice when the ginger's been frozen and then defrosted. That's just me. You can totally use fresh, unfrozen ginger, but I just find freezing it and then defrosting it makes it a little bit squishier. All right. Okay, my ginger is chopped up into fairly small pieces. Doesn't need to be perfectly fine, just into pieces. I'm going to dump it into a clean tea towel and drag it over here and get my saucepan because I'm going to squeeze all of the juice from this ginger into my saucepan so I can make a ginger syrup. So sometimes this takes a little bit of elbow grease, but you just want to squeeze really hard until that sort of cloudy, aromatic, golden ginger juice comes into the saucepan. And I can feel that this is still a little bit frozen. I didn't defrost it well enough. So it's a little bit harder to squeeze. But with this much ginger, you should expect to get 4 or 5 tablespoons worth of juice. You want to get a fair amount. And so if it means you got to leave this on the side a little bit and let it defrost more if you've defrosted, or if it means you need to squeeze it with a rolling pin and then pour the juice from the board into the pan, do whatever you need to do to get as much of it out as possible. All right, when you squeeze everything you can out of the ginger, woo, then you can go ahead and either, well, it's all on the floor now, either compost it, or I actually like to pour hot water over this ginger and then strain it out, and I have like a nice ginger water, a really light ginger tea without milk or sugar. That's really good if you have an upset stomach. So I'm gonna move all of this to the side, and to my 4 or 5 tablespoons of ginger juice, I'm going to add 1/2 cup of raw cane sugar. Sometimes it's known as turbinado sugar. And it's darker than white sugar. It's not as processed. It has bigger, thicker granules. I just think it adds a little bit more flavor to the ginger syrup, and I just like it better. It also has a little bit deeper color, which I also enjoy. You could use brown sugar, but I think that molasses flavor can kind of put it a little bit off. So then we're going to take the sugar and ginger juice, and we're gonna put it on the stove and just bring it to a boil and let it combine, almost like a simple syrup, until you have a nice syrupy consistency. Okay, my ginger juice and the cane sugar have cooked down into sort of a thick syrup now. Well, it's not a real thick syrup, but it's a dark syrup. And I'm gonna pour that into a pitcher so I can mix up my tea. Syrup's cooled a little bit so it's not burning hot anymore. And I'm gonna add about 3.5 to 4 cups of very strong black tea. You don't wanna use expensive black tea here. You're mixing it with sugar and milk and ginger. You can use cheap black tea, it's okay. And so just pour in the really strong tea, and by really strong I mean several tablespoons of loose leaf, or maybe 4 to 6 bags for 4 cups. You really want it intense. And then I'm also gonna add half a cup of milk. And you can add up to a cup of regular, I'm using whole milk, because I think that extra fat adds a little bit of smoothness to the ginger, and I think it tastes really good. If you like it even sweeter and even thicker, you can also add a couple tablespoons of sweetened condensed milk. I usually like to put a couple tablespoons in with my regular milk, stir it up until that's all incorporated, because sometimes it can be hard to get all of this to melt down into the tea. So I like about half a cup of milk. I don't like it real milky. I like that gingery tea flavor to come across. And then you just stir it up, and you're ready to put it together. So get some cups. You're gonna need some of those very fat straws to get all of the boba. And here's my boba in its sugar syrup right here. You can get clear boba too, I think, but black is usually the kind that you get at the boba shop. So a couple tablespoons of the boba and its syrup into each cup. And then just pour on that gingery, milky tea mixture, which is really good. And all the boba will sink to the bottom, which is what it's supposed to do. And all you have to do is sip away. I like to drink this chilled. And sometimes when I have it chilled, you want a little bit more sugar in it, so the sweetened condensed milk might be a good idea. I like it a little tart, so I don't. But you can serve it hot also. That's how you do it. Ginger for your tummy, boba for fun.